Congratulations, you're going to be a better writer in about 12 minutes. Get a pen and paper for notes, and if you really want to start growing as a writer, pause the video and try to spot the changes before I point them out. We'll use the acronym DRAFT to remember the foundational principles for clear, precise sentences. Delete, rearrange, add details, form new verbs, and talk it out. Most beginning writers have focused so long on hitting a word count that they're scared to cut out the clutter that's hiding their good ideas. Take this sentence. Happiness as a byproduct of living your life the way you want to is a pretty great thing. Pause now to predict the portions of this sentence that can be deleted. The way you want to isn't really adding to the sentence, partly because the word happiness already implies that life is the way you want it. Both phrases are essentially doing the same job. We have the same problem with the word pretty. It's amplifying great, but the difference between great and pretty great isn't enough to keep both words. Let's look at the next sentence. But if you have happiness as your ultimate goal in life, that is a recipe for disaster. Pause now to predict a portion of this sentence that can be deleted. The purpose of the phrase if you have is to present ownership. But the purpose of the next phrase, happiness is your, is also to present ownership. Again, two phrases doing the same work. And finally, the meaning behind the words ultimate and in life are already wrapped up in the word goal, because the first sentence already told us we were talking big picture, talking about how to live life. Take all of this clutter, throw it in the trash, and you'll end up with a clean, profound piece of advice from Barry Schwartz. As you revise, ask yourself, does this word or phrase add value to my reader or help achieve my purpose? If not, cut it. It doesn't matter how creative it is. It doesn't matter how long you worked on it. Your goal isn't to protect your feelings. It's to write something that has value to your audience. If it does add value, then ask yourself, is that value already there because of another word or phrase in my sentence? If so, cut it. Use that delete key. Precise like a scalpel, mean like a knife. Rearranging is the next foundational skill to clarifying your writing. Readers expect most information to come in sequential order. Chronological, cause and effect, least to most important are a few of the more common sequences. Take a look at the first part of this sentence. Trying to slow his heartbeat, he took a few deep breaths. There's nothing grammatically wrong with this, and it's fairly obvious what's going on, but it's still not in the expected sequence. The character in our sentence is taking deep breaths in order to slow his heartbeat. Effect before cause. By itself, this presents only a hint, a tiny whisper of incongruity, so small most people won't notice. But if an entire paragraph or an entire essay is out of alignment, almost everyone will notice the clunky style. Let's split this in two and rearrange the order so it's sequential in terms of cause and effect. Taking the deep breaths in order to slow his heartbeat. Pause here and rearrange the next phrase, who worked as agents for the FBI, on your own. We're going to rearrange agents and FBI because FBI agents is such a common phrase that to keep it otherwise would interrupt the rhythm and flow of our sentence. Let's keep going. Another sequence readers prefer is familiar information before new information. Since we've heard of the FBI and have an idea of what FBI agents tend to look like, and we've never met Scott Miller or Richard Brennan, those two phrases should switch places. Let's compare the clunky version with the new clean version. Here's the clunky version. Trying to slow his heartbeat, he took a few deep breaths, then opened the door and saw the men he expected, Scott Miller and Richard Brennan, who worked as agents for the FBI. Now the clean, rearranged version. He took a few deep breaths, trying to slow his heartbeat, then opened the door and saw the men he expected, FBI agents Scott Miller and Richard Brennan. Hopefully you can feel how much cleaner this version is, how all of those out-of-order phrases were weighing down the other version. Next example. The FBI agents were unconvinced, so they had come to search his house. Pause here and try this one on your own. It's a bit tricky. This is another issue of putting the effect before the cause. So we'll move the cause, unconvinced, to the beginning so that FBI agents can be closer to the action they came to accomplish. Master the skill of arrangement. Ask yourself about the sequence your readers are expecting. Also, ask your readers if the rhythm, the flow of the sentence would improve. And finally, Double check that you're putting the word you want most emphasized at the end of the sentence or the sentence you want most emphasized at the end of the paragraph, as long as you're not sacrificing clarity. Clarity always comes first. Couple quick examples. By June 1st, please Venmo $107. Or please Venmo $107 by June 1st. None of the words have changed in these sentences, but the order gives them each a different emphasis. Here's another example I heard from one of my favorite teachers, Debbie Dean. Let's say you're a manager writing a review of an employee. Notice the different emphasis created based on the position. Although Jacob is always late, he works hard. Although Jacob works hard, he is always late. Even though the information is exactly the same, the first sentence is more flattering. Our third foundational skill is to add details that will bring your topic into focus. The newest migrant workers who haven't learned the ropes often sleep outdoors in the wooded sections of Prunedale, moving to a different place each night. Workers, moving, and place are so general that our readers are likely to have unanswered questions. Let's add a few details to create a more focused picture. For example, we need more detail to understand why these workers are sleeping outside. And why do they move to a different place each night? Each detail answers a question and brings the picture into focus. As you're deleting and rearranging, ask yourself, is there any detail I can add that would sharpen the focus for my readers? It would answer some of their questions without slowing down the pace. Form new verbs. This is the fourth tip in our acronym, but this is one of the fastest, easiest plug-and-play tips to immediately improve your writing. Take a look at the sentence about a junior high girl coming out of the locker room before her basketball game. As Emily walks onto the floor in her green and gold uniform, she looks for me. Again, grammatically, it's fine, but take a closer look at that first verb, walks. Our goal in forming new verbs isn't to be cute, creative, or show off our 8-syllable vocabulary. The goal is to convey to readers the most precise vision of your idea as possible. Anyone who's been to a basketball game or even seen one on TV knows that players don't merely walk onto the court from the locker room. Okay, better. Pause here and see if you can spot the other verb that's too general. There are so many ways to look for a person. We should choose a more precise verb to convey what's going on for our readers. Not bad. Let's get even more precise and swap she, the whole person, for just the eyes. That is a nice sentence. Instantly better just by paying attention to our verb choice. One more example. Medical assistant examined, as opposed to look, good choice so far, examined Torres's ear, then ran out of the room. To grab, instead of get, also nice choice, more sets of eyes. Soon, 2 nurses, 3 medical students, and a doctor join the assistant in the tiny exam room to break the news. Instead of give or tell, again, great choice. To break the news, a spider had set up shop, another good choice, in her ear canal. Remarkably, she stayed calm, even with the knowledge that a moving spider was staying in her head. In some sort of miracle, the team informed her the arachnid went down her ear canal without so much as a bite. Pause here and try out a few verbs to replace those I've bolded. Here are the original verbs, clearly chosen by the author for their creepiness factor. This is a great example because the verbs are both precise and add value to the audience's experience. Final example. This one is from Malcolm Gladwell about the 1960s sit-ins. By Saturday night, the sit-in had reached 600. People were standing outside on the street. White teenagers had Confederate flags. Pause here and consider which verbs could be more precise and add value to the reader. We're standing outside is accurate, but it doesn't quite accentuate the massive number of 600 people around a single diner. Likewise, simply having a Confederate flag doesn't quite convey the tone of those teenagers or the situation. Pause here and consider what you would replace these with. I love the punchiness of these 3 short sentences and their ability to depict a setting so concisely, in part because of Gladwell's verb choice. As you write, before you print, before you upload or email, give those verbs a quick glance and ask yourself, is there a more precise verb I could be using? Remember, it's not about showing off your vocabulary or trying to be cute or creative for its own sake. It's about being more precise for your readers. It's about enhancing their experience by clarifying yours. Bonus tip, as much as you can, try to keep your verbs active. Avoid be verbs like am, is, was, has, had been. Sometimes you'll need to use them. They exist for a reason. But if you can avoid them, it's usually better. Finally, our last strategy, talk it out. Let's go back to the sentence we started with from Barry Schwartz. There are so many different options for conveying our ideas that if you have time, if you have a willing participant, ask them to weigh in. In this sentence, they might tell you that life is a great thing can be simplified to great, and the two sentences should be combined. Or that the whole thing really does work better as two sentences, but adding that and italicizing it can make the contrast more powerful, which could lead you to realize that you like it better with a combination of their ideas with a few new ideas of your own, like making it three sentences, one of them being a question. Delete, rearrange, add detail, form new verbs, talk it out. To improve your papers, emails, stories, or posts, don't just write, draft.